Your president is watching. America is watching. But more important, Godfather is watching. Make no mistake, there will be no fuck-ups. Marines around this world would give they left nuts to be where you are. Anybody not want to go? Marines, kill on 3. 1, 2, 3. Kill!
Born to those who pledged their lives in sacred honor, was smiled upon by God and freed from chains and iron collar. He is held aloft on unity and by history revered. For preserving peace through strength, his wings now reach across 200 years. But for each of those in 1 year more, God has smiled upon the core. From the Barbary coast to the eastern sand, by sword, by gun, or by bare hand. So it's been and shall be weighed. Though many are born, few are made. Faithful always they shall remain. Dogs to loose when war is waged.
Good night, Chesty, wherever you are.
Chesty Puller. Shout out to Rocky for steering me toward that video at thewarriorsong.com. Welcome to Cold War Radio Live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am your host, Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the broadcast bunker, manning the southern sector of the Steel City, facing east and managing the eastern sector. Let me bring Ward Miller onto the program. Hello, Ward. Ward's hit his mute button, apparently. He's recovering from that, though, I'm sure. Let me see what's going on here.
For whatever reason, it refused to unmute. Anyway, I'm here in Mission Control in the eastern sector of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, ready to rock and roll with a great show again. Absolutely. Follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, Cold War Radio 22, facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22. Email to the show is scrtv@live.com. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. You can check the podcast out after the live stream at the 405media.com in the morning. iHeartRadio on demand, RD Elephant on demand, the Cold War Radio app, YouTube with captions, and just about any other podcast platform that's out there. If you're on another platform, please rate us. If you think we deserve 5 stars, give us 6. You know how it works. If you're on Twitter, use the hashtag Cold War Radio to be connected with other listeners. And please go to steelcityresistance.com and catch the research room there. More importantly, help me support my co-hosts and others. Become a Cold War Radio patron or subscribe on Subscribestar. You can check out the video page, which has the videos of the majority of audio clips that we play on the radio show. And if you'd like to write to the program, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15226. Cold War Radio. Yeah, I hate when you have to double tap those buttons on the iPad, too. It's like, come on, play promo. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to just a couple inside baseball things at the top of the show, some administrative notes, if you will. I wanted to make sure, I realized on Sunday that I never really talk about this, but on Sunday nights from 7 until midnight, normally, 5 hours, WHBJ still has operations going. It's not a 24/7 situation, so it is a recorded podcast that you can download. And one of the things that we do on Sunday nights, usually after we air the Steel City Resistance flashback, last night was February 26th, 2012. Pretty good episode. It's amazing to listen to us, Ward. It really is. I mean, we were at this point we were on Trump. Trump was still a cartoon character to us at the time. He wasn't serious yet. Now, listening to us talk about it's funny, man. But well, the thing I thought was funny is listening to some of the older shows. It's like a lot of stuff we were, dead on point. And then there's other stuff where I think we totally fumbled Trump because neither one of us believed, when he came down the elevator that he was even going to stay in. I mean, I was like, well, he's announced before and blah, 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 and he bails out. He might make some, good points and get people talking, but that's going to be about it.
But this was when this wasn't even then yet. This was 2012 when he said he was going to run, and we were like, no, he's not. And he didn't, but it's just funny to listen to it. He was in the game even back then. And I didn't even really remember it. The part that got me that, where I think we fumbled, and I don't know that we really fumbled. We just didn't know yet. Almost every show, we're sitting there waiting for the hammer to fall on these criminal communists, with Eric Holder and Fast and Furious.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
We thought all this was going to happen, and we thought we had a real justice system.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Fast and the Furious came out, and I think we must have talked about Fast and Furious for probably 2 years.
Yeah, a long time.
When's something going to happen? When's something going to happen? And then from that, I went to Benghazi, when's something going to happen? Oh, they got Trey Gowdy in. Okay, something's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Not so much.
So anyway, Sunday night, 7 p.m., you can see the announcements on Twitter. It's its own show, WHBJ DB. It's not Cold War Radio. And what we do is we play a morning moment update with A Radio, a weekly update of that. And then I have like 7 or 8 shows that I randomly pick to play next. And we play, anywhere from History Unplugged. There's some of the shows that you listen to when we were running the 24/7 station. And then I always, we had the Black Patriot on, who changed his show name to the Conservative Enclave. I usually play the social, I forget the name of it, the social something episode of his program with Valerie Zinn, who's also a supporter of the show. So that's interesting. She was in the chat room last night. And then I always finish it up with Richard O. Jones, the true crime historian. For those of you that have never listened to that show, that's a good show. But Sunday night's a good night to play it because it's long and it's good. I'm going to have to figure out how to cut back some of the other stuff because last week I cut him off because on Spreaker you only get 5 hours and that's it. And he's at the end and I ran out of time and nobody got to listen to the end of the episode. I fixed that last night by putting a shorter episode in, but next week I'll be sure. Maybe I won't play him last. We'll figure it out. So anyways, I just wanted everybody to know Sunday nights, WHBJ Digital Broadcast, WHBJ DB, Sunday Night Talk Radio. Another thing that's very interesting to me, Ward, we had a very good week and a good month. But the week is the important part because we change co-hosts around. And whenever you do that, when you create confusion like that, we had a couple slumpers, or one slumper week, and then it rebounded last week. It was pretty good. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you for sticking with me, with us. But I noticed something that iHeartRadio is our number 2 platform, Word, for the last month. iHeartRadio. Can you believe that? I mean, iHeartRadio, it started out with 1 or 2 listens, and it has grown. And the thing that's interesting about it, and this is to you people that are listening to the program on iHeartRadio, I love that you're doing that. Please continue. But if there's any way that you can get here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 p.m. live, and there's also about 100 other different platforms that people listen to the program on. My point is not to take anything away from any of those platforms, but if you listen on Spreaker.com, you get the chat room. And the chat room is where it's happening at the Cold War Radio.
Absolutely. Our chat room rocks, man.
It does, absolutely. So that's just a thought, just to throw out there. And just the last non-political thing, I want to give a shout out to my grandmother and my dad and my mom because I had breakfast this morning. I went out for breakfast, Ward, and so many foods that were introduced to me by those people I just mentioned, you really can't, you don't see them anywhere. And I went to Bob Evans this morning, and I normally get the Homestead. I like sausage gravy. But I said, you know what, man, I probably need to lay off of that a little bit. I think I had some already this month, so up at camp. So I said, and I looked through the menu, and I said, I don't know if you're going to have, you probably never heard of this. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. There was cornmeal mush on the menu. And, man, my grandmother used to make that, and I ordered that. It was so good. Oh, my goodness. And did you ever hear of it?
No, I haven't.
And that's okay. But all it is, it's if you've ever heard of scrapple, it's scrapple with no meat. You know, there's no meat in it. It's just pure cornmeal. That's all it is. And it's made into a solid and into a loaf. And then it's sliced like very, very skinny pieces of bread, but they're only about as big as a graham cracker, half a graham cracker. So, and you put butter and syrup on it and eat it like that. It's real good. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if anybody in the chat room ever heard of it. Yeah, they heard of it. All right. So that's cool. That was just something that I thought of when I was eating it, because I haven't eaten it. I made it about 10 years ago. I made it, and it was good. But I hadn't eaten it before that for years or after that.
So anyway, a little bit of foodie trivia because we're getting ready to break your heart with the rest of this show. So I figured I'd throw a little bit of that in there. One of the things that's going on with these Democrats, Ward, and now not just the Democrats, but the entire federal government, is the rest of the world is watching us. And it's not a good situation. You've got China's state right now. Listen, this is communist China. And listen to what they said, because it's true. China's state-run Global Times on Sunday argued the death of Jeffrey Epstein is evidence the entire American system is fundamentally corrupt. Rich criminals are treated far too well, and change is impossible because Americans only get to choose between two parties when they vote. Now, I know their motives. Their motive is to push communism throughout the world. But set their motive aside and tell me that doesn't ring a little true. I mean, I think you would think it does, and I guess you logged off and logged back on. Did you hear it? Let me read it again, because you were in the middle of that when I was. China's state-run Global Times on Sunday argued the death of Jeffrey Epstein is evidence the entire American system is fundamentally corrupt. Rich criminals are treated far too well, and change is impossible because Americans only get to choose between two parties when they vote. And I would submit that that's true.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that they could get to him in jail, and I mean, it's hard to not be a conspiracy theorist when you hear all the stuff that happened. It's like his roommate was removed, or his cellmate was removed prior to, yesterday, and then all of a sudden the cameras malfunctioned, and then on top, what else happened on top of that? There was another one. There was he was supposed to be on suicide watch because he tried to suicide 2 weeks ago or whatever, and they were supposed to check on him every 30 minutes, and they just quit.
Andy said he thought somebody tried to kill him.
He said that.
And let me just put this in context, because I said something about this Sunday, but not many. I mean, there was 50 people there. But this guy, it's being portrayed, it's starting to change now. But at the beginning, if you read the media, the mainstream fake media, it made it sound like it was a Manhattan County jail or something. The MCC, the Metropolitan Corrections Center in Manhattan, is a Federal Bureau of Prisons prison. And its sole purpose that I know of is holding high-profile federal defendants, accused people, pre-trial and sometimes during trial. And I'll give you a couple people that would be Jeff Epstein's neighbors. El Chapo is one of them. Sammy the Bull Gravano managed to survive when John Gotti and several other capos were in the same facility. It just doesn't make sense. It's not, they had one job, man. And now the problem is, and this is the worst part. What they did immediately was, and this is the union, the prison guards union came out and blamed Trump for it because of their understaffed, and these two guards did like major amounts of overtime, and I'm going to guess that some of that overtime was mandatory. So here's what's going to happen in the end. Number one, the warden is not going to get touched because the warden is a black female. Not untouchable. Not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to her. These two freaking guards are going to get skewered, and that's a damn shame. Even if it was their fault, because they're only private E1s, Ward. You know what I mean? They're not
part of the hierarchy.
Yeah, but my question would be, let's take a look at their finances real quick. Get you a forensic accountant or something and check them out, because it's just, and you're exactly right, because they're privates. It's just entirely too easy for them to say, okay, look, I'll give you, $100,000. You turn your back for an hour.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Whatever.
Let me clarify my statement too, because I don't want to sound like somebody I'm not. When I said that about the warden, the context of that is the administration is not going to risk adding any more gasoline to the white supremacist, racist meme. It's not going to happen, and I don't blame them. That being said, if the warden is found to be explicitly involved, that's a different story.
If they're complicit, I don't think that there's any issue with, if you could prove it, it doesn't matter if they're purple.
Right.
Whatever they're gone.
I agree. That was just my first.
When it comes down to proof, you're going to have, for that kind of thing, you're going to have irrefutable evidence.
And the video's missing.
Unlike the Mueller report, that says, it could be, maybe, sort of, kind of, yeah, whatever.
Now you want to hear some embarrassing follow-ups to this. The U.S. prison system sinks to third world status. Even Mexico provided video of El Chapo's prison escape, if you recall.
Yeah.
So when they say there's no video, I turned you guys on Sunday to a guy that, he's half a disgruntled employee, but some of the insight that he gives, the YouTube channel is called As the Key Turns, and it's a retired corrections officer at the federal level that was at USP Marion, which those of you who know the prison system, like the Godfather, USP Marion was the number one most secure prison facility until they built the one in Colorado, the Supermax.
They were even saying with the Epstein thing, because, and I had read this that was done by a corrections officer also, and he said when somebody's on suicide watch, they don't get nothing that they could hang themselves with. You get tissue paper, and that's it.
Right.
You don't have shoestrings or whatever you can hang yourself with.
Now, just to be clear, he was not on suicide watch. His lawyers petitioned the warden and the chief psychological officer, and he was removed from suicide watch. And I had listened to some other Department of Corrections people say that it is extremely, extremely rare that you stay on suicide watch for any longer than 3 days. And the reason is because it's impossible to live. Like you said, you're wearing toilet paper clothes.
But the point is, okay, this guy already said, I was almost suicided before.
Right, exactly.
He lived through the first one. I've almost been suicided before. Hey, don't you think that should say, okay, maybe we put him in, solitary, or put him somewhere.
Yeah, something.
That he can't be suicided. But no, we'll just leave him here. We'll roll off because they even said for the last few days he's been upbeat.
Did you see that picture that was circulating with the big head? You had to see it. It was.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
And I don't know if that was an official picture. I think it was John in the chat. We don't only have a chat; we have a Facebook message page too. But he was on Cold War Radio 2.0. I think it was you, John. No, you know what? I saw this on the hashtag Cold War Radio. But you look at this picture, and if it is in fact an official picture, it is unbelievable, because they say this guy is in a hospital and there's an air compressor hose strung up on a dirty wall, and there's a sign that says "Turn off all engines." It's ridiculous, man. It's not even good. It's like Obama's birth certificate. It's not even good.
Completely fake.
Yeah, and we fall for it time and time again. But I don't want to go down that road yet because I think there's a lot more that's going to come out. And I don't know. I want to be optimistic, but it's kind of hard, as you said.
Yeah.
So, Bill Barr, let's listen to Bill Barr and what he has to say about the situation, and maybe we can feel a little more confident. I want to know what you guys feel.
The Manhattan Correctional Center over the weekend regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking case was very important to the Department of Justice and to me personally. It was important to the dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and to our FBI agents who investigated the case and were preparing it for trial. Most importantly, this case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserved the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry, to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirators should not rest easy. The victims deserve justice, and they will get it.
Well, it sounds good, and I certainly hope that it's true. Joy Reid came out initially, and I was mad when she did it, and said that really, this is on Barr. And I was like, what? And then, again, I was watching as the key turns, and I might try to get this guy on the show. He did 23 years at Marion. It's not MCC, but it's in the same Bureau of Prisons. And he said that when the guy was sentenced remanded to the MCC is like a county jail, like a federal county jail where you go before trial. And
it's like basically a holding cell.
Yeah, exactly. And when the judge sentences you there or remands you to the MCC, he remands you to the custody of the Attorney General. So she was right in a way. And that's why he's so mad. Because, of course, he's not running the jail, but it's his facility. He's the top cop, the top lawyer, and that's his place. So, man, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But he says nothing's going to happen. That we're going to find out who did this. So that's good. And I hope he seems genuine. But, Ward, the thing that bothers me
We've heard this song before, dude.
Exactly, man. So many times. And when you look at the people, George Mitchell, man, screwing little girls. George Mitchell, Governor Richardson. And they did it, and I hope they get prosecuted, not just the people that were working with Epstein. These people that did these things to these girls, they're the ones that ought to roast too, man. It shouldn't just.
Oh, absolutely.
This isn't like a John with a prostitute. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with outing those guys and everything. That's consenting adults. But when you're doing little girls like that, man, or little boys, off with your head, man.
Oh, I totally agree. We've gone through this before, with my feelings on these pedophiles is, and Epstein was one of the worst. But there's there may be a silver lining here because
Maybe.
I read an article today that said that apparently he had a diary, and that diary's been confiscated by the feds. So
think about that, brother.
I know. So
I
that
saw
can
an
go
article.
one of two ways. Number one, if there actually was a diary, and you start hearing of arrests coming from it,
Yeah.
all right, it turned up with the good guys.
But I
If
saw
you don't,
I saw this article that said that they spotted FBI teams on speedboats headed to Epstein's Island. And I'm thinking, yeah, and they probably had red lights and sirens, and the sign on the boat was Clinton cover-up control. That's what I think of when I say the FBI is on that island. I say bye-bye evidence.
dude,
You know.
any evidence that was on that island was gone when he got picked up.
You're probably right. I
I
really,
mean, that's what
really.
he has people there for. I mean, and he paid them a shitload of money just so that he could have this,
That's a good point. That's a good
whatever
point.
it is. So he had people there. I mean, and it's kind of like, you remember, it was quite a few years now. One of our mine-seeking planes went down, and China picked it up,
Yeah.
and it was a thing, because
Right.
there was technology on there that they didn't want the Chinese to get, et cetera, et cetera. And it just so happened that my son was stationed in Hawaii, where the pilot from this plane comes back to, and they got to talk, and he says, all we had to, my job was just to land this plane and, not take any casualties. This other guy's job, his sole job was to bust up everything so that it was unusable. That was his complete job. Just smash the crap out of it. So there you have it.
Yeah, that's I in the Army, our main I wasn't I was around some weapon systems that were sensitive and classified, but one item that we had, and this was in the 90s, was our radios were cutting edge technology. They were they changed frequencies so rapidly that you couldn't stay on the signal, and you had to have the right intelligence on both sides so it would sync up. We had thermite grenades, and one of the missions, if you were getting overrun, was to put a thermite grenade on the top of that radio.
Yep, it just melted away.
Yeah, so there it is. This guy never ceases to go lower and lower in my book, and that's Marco Rubio. He came out and said that Russian bots were to blame for spreading Epstein conspiracies. And I get to wondering, I wonder if the Lolita Express ever had any little boys that were, you got to wonder about Marco now. I hate to say that, but to say something like that right now, really?
Yeah, well, and the thing is, too, I mean, anybody with half a brain goes, okay, there has to be some sort of conspiracy. There's no way that this guy who's talking to the feds, who's trying to make a deal, who's, and the feds are willing to make this deal with him. So there was an announcement, and they said that, who was that? They got Bill Maher, Gwyneth Paltrow, it was one of the royals, too.
Prince Charles.
No, not Charles, the other
Or
one.
Harry.
No, the older ones.
I don't know. One of those
Anyway,
guys.
but yeah, he was a royal too, but they were names that came out the day before, like Friday, and then he offs himself Saturday.
Oh, it's unreal.
I mean, so immediately you have to go with there has to be a conspiracy, so that doesn't actually make you a Russian bot.
No, and why would Prince Andrew? Thank you, Paul, in the chat room. I appreciate that. That's the pedophile. It's just
The Republicans never know. The Republicans don't know how to play this game, man. They don't. I'm telling you, man. It's like, come on, Marco. Did you have to say that right now? I mean, first of all, it's not true. All this throwing around this Russia stuff. It's like, come on. You act like they have influence or something. The only people
and
they
here's
have.
The thing. What would they gain?
I know
What could they potentially gain by spreading conspiracies about Epstein's? There's conspiracies that I read that said that he got away, that somebody smuggled him out and they killed somebody else.
Oh yeah.
There's all kind of conspiracies. So does that make it a Russian bot? I mean, what actually qualifies it as a Russian bot conspiracy? Does it mean that? The Clintons.
Am I Russian?
Is that the Russian bots?
Am I Russian? Have I been listening to the Russians for the last 20 years? My theories aren't new. I told you immediately the first day that I heard the story about Russian collusion. Who could be so stupid in America to believe that the Russians would back the biggest capitalist hero in the freaking country? It's absolutely opposite of their ideology. The Russian communists and Vladimir Putin are not going to back a Donald Trump. It's like oil and water. But our country has been uneducated, miseducated for so long. You and I lived through it. We know that Ted Kennedy sat down with the KGB to try to get Reagan out. We know that. We know all of the stories of Bernie Sanders and Bill de Blasio in Cuba and down in Nicaragua with the Sandinistas. It's unbelievable. When Richard Nixon and the Un-American Activities Committee, or whatever it was called, was rooting out communists, there were no Republicans getting rooted out. This is something that, in order to believe the trash that the entire media gave us for 3 years, you have to forget too much reality. Yes,
and continues to.
It's nuts, and it just it's so sad. Now I want to give our condolences, ladies and gentlemen, to the family of Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is Jeff Epstein's woman that recruited all the young girls. I want to send our condolences to her family for her massive suicide next Wednesday. Just wanted to put that out there. Run for cover, girl. Run for cover. Get somebody you trust and start digging, because they're coming after you next. Anything happens to her, and somebody told me on Twitter.
Anything happens to her, you'd think that Epstein was a lead pipe cinch. He's in prison, for God's sake. They got a better shot at her committing suicide than they should have had with him.
You're right. There's no question. It's getting interesting, to say the least. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do now, and if you want to talk about Epstein, let's do it in the second hour. Call us up. I know there's a lot of people that want to talk about it. Feel free. We'll let a bunch of you on if we need to. But I want to play something in light of the gun control idiocy that is being brought forward by Democrats and Republicans on gun control and things like that. And I'll have more to say after the clip. But what I'm going to play is a clip of Chicago this weekend. And I want you to listen to the clip and realize that anybody who is talking about any type of gun control, whether it be red flag rules, I don't really care about the background checks that much. I think that family members ought to be able to move guns and antiquities freely without government intervention at all. So I don't think there should be background checks for family transactions. I think that's un-American. But I want you to realize that nothing that any of these people that try to make you believe. And what they're doing is they're appealing to emotional people, emotional voters, if you will. Voters that vote mistakenly with their heart or make decisions based on emotional reactions rather than logical reactions from their minds.
Well, that's pretty much the entire Democratic Party. There's no logic involved.
And a lot of Republicans are getting involved in this as well.
Well, here's the thing. Anybody that agrees with the red flag thing is completely out of bounds. Because here's the problem with that. You know, everybody says, oh, well, if you have the red flag thing, then, you know, if they put up a red flag because they, you know, they act up in school or they were, you know, they did this or they did that, then that means you got to roll back, you know,
And the thing is you've got two or three groups of people here. You've got law-abiding gun owners, and you've got crazed psychotropic drug young white boys, and you've got gangbanger young black boys and men. And the problem with red flag laws and any other kind of laws when it comes to gun control is that the only people out of those three groups that will be affected by any red flag law, any background check law, is the law-abiding gun owner, who is not the problem here. That is a big problem, and I pray to God that the president does not move forward any red flag gun legislation, because Representative Crenshaw, you're out of your mind. You're wrong. Andrew McCarthy, you are wrong. This whole idea that you can, and I'm going to get to this later on, so I'm not even going to cover it right now. I'm going to cover it later, though, I promise, with the several unconstitutional infringements on three different amendments in the Bill of Rights, or in the Constitution. They are the Bill of Rights.
Well, the other problem there, Hutch, is who gets to determine what becomes a red flag?
Bill Peduto.
Is it a red flag because
Bill
you think
Peduto.
that there's more? Oh, yeah, that's the problem. You get somebody
Exactly.
like Peduto, or you know what? You think that there's no more than two genders? Oh, that's a red flag. Oh,
Right.
wait, a problem
Right.
with men going into little girls' bathrooms? Oh, well, that's a red flag. I mean, think about it. They could use the entire liberal agenda against us.
You call
Just to be-
Islam, you call Islamists savages? Oh, you're done.
Exactly. No matter what. I mean, when you have something that they can use as a weapon, and that's exactly what it would become.
I know.
Because then they'd say, oh, well, Ward was on Cold War radio and he said something about a Muslim, so then they're going to come to my house to take my guns. Well, that would probably be pretty bad, and they better kiss their families goodbye. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. Now let's listen.
The problem is you can't knuckle under to these red flag things, because it's all up to who creates the flag.
That's right. Come on, President Trump, don't do it. Because I'm telling you, you do it, you lose. You do it, you put a red flag law out there where these communists, where a lot of us live, you're going to lose, man. You're going to lose me. You're going to lose Cold War Radio. I'll tell you right now. And I'll take a hit. I'll lose half my audience. I did that before when I supported Trump. But listen, I want you to listen to this. Imagine if you lived here and realize, please, ladies and gentlemen, realize no law by any level of government, these people that are in this video that you won't be able to see, obviously, will not be affected by it, because their guns aren't legal in the first place. Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, United States of America, Chicago, Illinois. Wow. Each one of those pops was a 9mm or a 7.62 AK round, and it's going to fly as far as it can fly until it hits something. In Chicago, Illinois, in 2019. And not one Democrat out there. 47 shot, 4 fatally over the weekend in Democrat-controlled Chicago. 47 shot. That's twice as many people. The laws are not for these people, ladies and gentlemen. They are for legal, law-abiding citizens. They're not afraid of these gangbangers in Chicago. They don't give a damn about them. Plus, they're black, so they really don't care about them. But they're terrified of me. And they're terrified of you. And if they're afraid of me, I did 35 years in the Army. If they're afraid of me and they're afraid of you, why? Why are they afraid of me and afraid of you? Because we're tired of this. We're absolutely tired of it. It's disgusting. And we better pay attention to these things. Don't know what happened to Ward. He signed off, but I hope he comes back. Let's listen to Wayne. Well, we're not going to listen to him. I'm going to talk about him. Wayne Allen Root penned an article. This is how we stop gun violence, Mr. President. He says, do you know the old joke about lawyers? What's the greatest talent of lawyers? They can quote their fees without smiling. That's how I feel about Democrats and anti-gun crusaders this week. How do they say what they say without smiling? How dumb do they think Americans really are? And I would say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm sure there's some in the audience and some even on my staff that have really big hearts, that this really hurts, and they react that way. And in a couple of weeks, they'll mellow out and whatever, and I'm not trying to be condescending. But how do Democrats keep from smiling when they blame violence on conservatives or Trump, while it's almost exclusively the liberal world that openly and publicly promotes violence? And he goes on to illustrate what Democrat Congressman Raul Castro, brother of Fidel Castro, tweeted out the names and addresses of Trump donors. I mean, somebody gets a hold of that information. Some of them have already been contacted. Did you know days ago an NBC News national security expert claimed in a TV interview that Trump's order to put flags at half-mast was a tribute to Hitler? You know that because I played the clip. So NBC is encouraging the violence. And then we heard about Universal's The Hunt. Universal, and that's liberals hunting conservatives, deplorables as a matter of fact. So Universal Pictures is promoting violence. The answer is not gun control or red flag laws. Everywhere in America where there is strict gun control, there is sky-high murder rates. It does not stop criminals or crazy people. You heard the shots. What was that, about 100 rounds in 2 minutes? They don't care. All it does is disarm good guys, the very ones that you should want to be armed. I mean, you saw the story about a Missouri Walmart where an armed firefighter stopped a shooting. This is Exhibit A for how we should stop criminals and mass shooters. We need good guys, armed and licensed with a concealed carry permit to confront and stop bad guys. Cops can't be everywhere. Cops are actually second responders. And I've said that for years. Cops come and clean up the crime scene. That's all they do. They pull
you can't expect a cop. That's like saying, well, I'm not going to expect the fire department because I'm not going to buy a fire extinguisher because the fire department should come and fix it.
Exactly. No doubt. And so, Mr. President, I understand the reality of politics. You need to win the vote of suburban moms. I don't, well, yeah, you do. You need to compromise to reach out to independents. I understand that. My advice is simple. This is Wayne Allen Root. Whatever deal you cut, make sure it's narrow in scope and respects the civil liberties of the armed good guys of America. That's me, Mr. President. That's my audience.
Well, that's the issue too, Hutch. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if they enable this red flag law, that and you got to think that it's got to be really terrible if Mitch McConnell's going, hey, or not McConnell, what's his name, Schumer. Schumer's like, yeah, call him back. We're going to go and we're going to get this, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, if he's that into it, there's got to be something wrong.
Exactly. You're damn right. And like I said before, it's not going to affect legal gun owners. The only people it's going to affect is legal gun owners, not those people firing those rounds in Chicago. So be sure to negotiate something in the bargain in return for a narrow, reasonable gun law that doesn't harm my civil rights. We need national gun reciprocity. The responsible armed trained, let me finish this article, Ward. Sure. The responsible armed trained good guys of America who have concealed carry permits must be able to carry our guns in all 50 states, just like retired law enforcement can right now. That's how you stop bad guys. Gun control is not the answer. Putting an army of good guys with training and licenses to concealed carry on the streets is the only way to make America safe again. Screw the Democrats and screw the suburban voters. This is reality. And also, tell the Democrats to stop inciting violence and murder. And
you're absolutely right.
That's Wayne Allen Root and how you stop this mess, and I agree with him 100%. It worked in the Wild Wild West. We're only here now because it worked in the Wild Wild West.
But the thing is, Hutch, I mean, look at it from the, from the bigger picture. That's what they want. It's never about logic. It's never about numbers. It's never about anything that can be quantified. It's always feelings.
Yep, you're right.
And there was this mass shooting. I feel that we need to do something. No, you don't. What you need to do is you need to roll these laws back, because if good guys start firing back, that's all it takes. And that's why Chicago is such a complete crap hole, is because the good guys gave up their guns, and the only ones that got them are bad guys, and the bad guys are rolling over all the good guys.
Just like what's going to happen in New Zealand.
The way to stop that is to take the handcuffs off the good guys.
You're right. I mean, you're going to see it start happening in New Zealand. They're touting these big gun buyback programs. It's crazy. And I just... and
they're doing knife buyback programs in England.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute, the real numbers. And that's why that none of this is sincere. And to Hickenbomb or Hickenloofer, whatever his doggone know, I can't remember, Kinzinger, to Representative Kinzinger and Pat Arlen Toomey and all the rest of you people, shut up, man. Go be a Democrat. Crenshaw, if you want red flag laws, get out of my party. Go be a Democrat. It's not going to affect anybody but us. Criminals don't listen to these things. Exactly. Why would you restrict my rights pretending that you're going to do something? You're not going to do anything. It's not going to work. It just isn't. All right, are we done with that, man, for right now? Let's go.
Sure, why not? No, I'm good with it. I mean, like I said, until they start actually trying to, you can't legislate laws to govern criminals. That's the bottom line through the whole thing, and all these, lefties that try to legislate with the feels. It's just, and that's what's killing it. I mean, it's like, I feel bad that all these people got shot. I really do. However,
Of course, I do too.
but they're in a gun-free zone, and they expect the criminals to buy it. How many gun-free zone shootings have there been? I mean,
How many
ever
Hell's
since
Angels?
Crazy Joe brought up the legislation that brought them into being.
How many Hell's Angels clubhouses have been fired up? You know, how many police stations have been fired up? And then I'll take you to the other side with the guy down at Fort Hood. Fort Hood might as well have been a gun-free zone, except for
none of the soldiers were allowed to carry
Exactly.
weapons because of Bill Clinton.
exactly right, and others, not just Democrats.
Well, Clinton's the one who signed it that you weren't allowed
George
to carry.
H.W. Bush was bad too, man. It's not just.
It's who signed the legislation. That's the way I'm gonna look at it.
All right, that's fine.
It
That's
was
fine,
signed
but-
by.
My point is that there are Republicans out there that are on the wrong side of this issue.
Absolutely, I guarantee you that. But before it's all said and done, our pal Lindsey Graham's going to step in it.
And you know what he did too? He had the audacity, and he's part of this red flag cabal. He had the audacity to explain to one of the reporters why he has an AR-15. But I'd like to look back and see his history on. I don't even know if he was in the Senate when Clinton passed that the first time, but I don't know. It's let's listen to how about former Representative Bob Barr? I don't know if you remember him, but he points out some really big constitutional problems with the red flag law. He says that some Republicans in Congress are seeking to pass a red flag law, which would grant law enforcement to do what legal precedent has rarely permitted: forcefully enter homes and confiscate lawful firearms without any evidence of a crime. I mean, and it's being led by Senator Lindsey Graham, Representative Adam Kinzinger. Beyond the bite such a law would take out of the Fourth Amendment, protection against unreasonable search and seizure, it would permit the government to override both the Second Amendment, which guarantees the right to possess a firearm, and the 14th Amendment, which requires the government to provide due process based on equal protection before it may take a person's property or otherwise abridge their fundamental rights. Need I say more? I mean, we're going into Alice in Wonderland area, Ward.
Well, I mean, it's no longer just the Second Amendment, as you've just pointed out. It's, multiple amendments, the Fourth Amendment, and that's the thing. That goes back to the 14th Amendment, the due process. There should be some due process as to how you got to this point where you have to submit your firearms. There has to be some sort of a hearing or something.
Now look at families.
And I'm not for that. Don't get me wrong.
Right, but you look at families, especially big families. I got a brother who's half a communist that lives in Tacoma, Washington. What's to stop him if we get in an argument about something, about saying, this guy, oh man, he wishes all Muslims were dead, man, and he lives at so street.
Sure.
I mean, there's families like that all over this country.
Well, don't you remember that kind of happened for a while under Obama, when they said, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
And hell, I'm sure that people got put on like no-fly lists and all kinds of stuff just because of that stuff.
Look at the swatting stuff.
Yeah.
When you call police and say, oh man, this guy's got 14 girls locked up in a room and he's getting ready to light it on fire.
Yeah. Just so that the
at
SWAT
3
team
a.m.
comes in and kills everybody.
Yeah, at 3 a.m. And let's not forget, and I'm old enough to remember this. Plus, I served in Korea for a while. But what did we used to learn about the communists, about the KGB and the East German secret police, of which Vladimir Putin was an officer? They would, and North Korea, the way that they got their political prisoners was to get their families and their neighbors to rat on each other. That's what we're talking about here. Absolutely. We're talking about you're in your neighborhood, and now you're going to be really even more isolated than we are today in dealing with your neighbors, for fear
that somebody drops some kind of information on you, and the next thing you know, the authorities are coming in. It's no good any way you look at it. And the unfortunate part and the brilliant part on the enemy side is they're targeting our women, Ward, because men and women are made up differently. And I understand when... And how can I get out of this?
I don't know what you were going for.
I don't know. I'm just saying that women have historically had more emotional responses to things that happen. I mean, you're a husband. I'm a husband. We know this.
Yeah,
It's like, no, dear, it's okay. I got this.
Well,
and you go out
like
and
shootings.
you police up the dead dog out in the street, and it's something that it's natural. It's nature. Our women are very big-hearted, and that's awesome. It's awesome, but it makes you susceptible to this stuff.
Yeah, because it's once again trying to legislate the feels, and as terrible as it sounds, that's exactly what it is. Though, I mean, women. What happened in what was that place in Connecticut? The school.
I
can't remember the name of it.
I can't either.
But it's. I keep wanting to say Parkland, and that was the one in Florida. But anyway,
Adam Lanza was a shooter.
Children, and Lanza they were young was a shooter, children. Yeah. I mean, that made it even that much worse.
Yeah. And it's understandable,
and the feels come into play, and and these women will band together, and because they think they're standing up for these slaughtered children, and they're really not, because really what you're doing is you're allowing the people that did it to be able to do it again and more effectively.
Yeah,
Sandy Hook. Thank you, Ralph. I couldn't. I knew it, but I couldn't remember it. But yeah, that's the issue is because they get in their head and then they band together and they create a group, like Women Against Drunk Drivers or, mothers against drunk drivers is what it was.
And it's fully understandable.
So they band together and it's like, okay, now we're going to go to Congress and we're going to fight. And they start raising, hell and making noise. But it's about the feels, man. There's no law that you're going to propose that's going to solve this problem.
No. And another way for women on our side to combat this is to understand that the left never pushes or tries to explain or tries to sell what they want to do with facts, because we crush them every time they bring facts to the table. And that is why they have realized that the feelings are the place to go. That's why everything is so dramatic with them. That's why they cut a commercial that has Paul Ryan pushing an old lady in a wheelchair off a cliff, because they could not argue Obamacare or anything else with issues, with the facts. So they understand the power of emotion and the power of the heart, and they exploit the hell out of it. And I understand why women sometimes react, and not just women, because there's a lot of guys we got now that damn near are turning into women that are the same way.
Have you seen this? Last week we were talking about Beto O'Rourke down there whining and crying like a little girl with a skint knee.
Yeah.
And now, what's the other guy? Lou or Lau or
Buttigieg?
Do what?
Buttigieg?
No. He was. I think it's his last name's like Lau or Lai.
Oh, the Chinese guy?
Yeah. He was doing the same thing. He's crying like a little girl with a skint knee. It's like, come on, man. We don't want a leader that's going to whine and cry at the drop of a hat. We want somebody that's going to stand up and bear the brunt of
be
a
the adult.
9/11.
Be the adult in
Ted
the
Lou,
room.
thank you, Regina. But yeah,
You know, and you hear these things, and the worst part of it all is they don't give a damn, man. They're trying to disarm me and you. That's all they want. That's all they want.
Absolutely.
They want us to be like the guys in the street in Hong Kong that are about ready to get overrun. The Duke of California, Sean, is on the line. Hello, sir.
Hey, Hutch. Hey, Ward, how you guys doing?
Doing
Great,
good.
man.
Oh, I'm doing great. You know, but when I hear all the stuff that's going on, whoo, Trump is having to walk a thin line of, you know, trying to please both sides of the aisle. And, like, what you guys are saying is really good, you know.
Well, thank you. Because I don't think he should. When I saw Mitch McConnell in an interview in Louisville the day after the communist Black Lives Matter were out in front of his house, and he said, well, the only option is that we can't do nothing. We have to do something. I'm thinking, no, you don't. No, you don't. America, wake up. The answer to your freaking problems is not the federal government. It's not more federal laws. The answer is inside your own house. Figure it out.
Amen.
You know?
Amen.
Boy, that makes me
You know,
mad. You have to do something. No, you don't.
Oh, it makes me mad too, Hutch. I am there with you 100%, you know, and I pray to God, and this is the other thing that we got to do too. We got to keep Trump on his toes on this one. Hey, we got to call him. We got to call all the representatives telling him, hey, if you do this, we will not vote for you. Threaten to not have them
That's right.
get voted.
That's
You
right.
gotta
Like
call them.
I said it, and if I lose half my audience again, it happened to me before. I am not down with this program. If the president, and let me be clear, too. I shouldn't say that. I sound like a freaking politician. Don't let me be clear. Let me just tell you guys something. You know,
I did not have sexual relations with that guy.
my finger was wagging, baby. Hold on.
Your president is watching. America is watching. But more important, Godfather is watching.
You got that, DJT? We're watching out here. We're watching. And what I wanted to say was there is a real possibility, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the several times previously that the president has pissed me off, it was merely to bait the Democrats into the trap. And that may be what is going on right now.
Well, I think it is because he got them. I mean, basically, he plays games with them. He got them to defend rats, for God's sake.
Exactly.
You know, so now, what was the one I saw today? They're gonna, if these illegal immigrants or the immigrants themselves are going to be on food stamps or whatnot, they're not going to be allowed in.
That was beautiful.
And the best part about it is that law was written by and signed into law by Slick Willie,
Nice.
but just never enforced. So Trump is actually going back and having to enforce laws that, you know, Clinton said, oh, we're going to do this, and he signed it into law, and they never enforced it. They never did anything about it.
It's like Bush with the wall. They had a fully funded southern border wall in what, 2000 and, man, I'm all screwed up with my years now. I think it was 2006. But the whole thing was funded, and nobody ever, you know, started building anything. Sean, that's why I like this president, man. I mean, we had Tom Tancredo on here twice, and I didn't realize that Stephen K. Bannon is also involved with We Build the Wall. We might have to get some more people back in here on that. I thought those were some good interviews.
I saw the interviews during the RSBN live broadcast on YouTube, and that was when I still had a YouTube account. Now it's gone. I got rid of it. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, no,
I got rid of all the I got rid of all the leftist platforms. I got BitChute, Gab, Spreely, MeWe. That's it. That's all I'm doing.
Not RD Elephant?
RD Elephant, I'm going to have to figure out some because I don't
I got
do cards anymore. I get hacked too many times from that. And I'm like, oh, the hell with this. I'm not doing that anymore.
All right. So I see Omar Navarro is back in the game to try to take out Maxine Waters. I don't know how that's going to work, but it'll be interesting.
I don't know how that's going to work either, but I do have some good news.
Okay.
Our candidate, Carl DeMaio, outraised a Democrat in the seat that he's running for.
It's a state seat?
I think it's he's running for Congress.
Oh, it's a federal seat. Okay.
I don't remember what. I don't remember what district.
That's all right.
I know he's running somewhere in San Diego. I just don't remember how the district works. Sometimes
I might have seen him on television. And interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I got to tell you, and I got to tell the audience. I was watching Brett Baer's special report tonight, and I got into it 15 minutes. To where I couldn't take it anymore, man. I'm listening to this, and they're saying things like, President Trump retweeted a young guy that tweeted something about the Clinton body count. Yeah. Now, President Trump's a regular guy, man. He is not Marco Rubio. He hasn't been groomed his whole life to stand in front of a camera and lie like Marco Rubio has. With his father in the background as a bartender at a hotel. He had to bring that up every 10 minutes. But so President Trump retweeted that, and it's what we all know. We all know that the Clinton body count, it's almost getting to the point where it's disgusting, and you want to gather up a couple thousand guys, a couple thousand strong guys, and go grab these people ourselves and do a citizen's arrest. With the damn Clintons.
Yeah, it might get to the point of vigilantism.
It might. I mean, if this Justice Department, and so on Fox News, I'm listening to them, and they are making fun of the president for retweeting that, and I'm livid at that point. It's like I wouldn't mind if you didn't come on the air and endorse something like that. But if you're going to bring it up and not bring additional reporting about the bodies that NBC had a story on 2 years ago that listed all the people that have been mysteriously suicided or murdered that were adversaries of the Clintons, I had to change the channel. And I got to tell you, I went to OAN News. If you have DirecTV, it's station 347. And One America News Network is so much better than Fox News. It's crazy. I mean, they are on the money.
One America News Network, your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news. With nearly 4 times as many headlines as the other networks. Straight news, no speculation, no opinion, just the facts. Complete coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One America News Network, your source for credible news.
And I said that One America News Network was boring to a friend of mine, James Chief of the Chief Report. High-ranking officer at rdelephant.com. And he said, Hutch, he said, news is supposed to be boring. It's not supposed to be Hollywood. And I was like, damn, James, you're right. You know what I learned on One America News Network tonight because I got off of Fox News? Did you know that when Jeff Epstein was arrested in LaGuardia Airport in New York, he was coming back from France. He has a property in France.
And the equivalent of the Attorney General in the United States of France opened an investigation against him there. Nobody knows that. Fox News didn't put that out.
Nobody put it out.
Nobody put it out but One America News Network.
Yep.
Think about that, guys. Think about it.
But it's funny, Hutch. I had posted a thing on our Facebook page, and if you think about it in these terms, it makes it a little bit different. So I don't care who you are. Nobody has 56 friends who committed suicide.
Twinside. Call it twinside.
Bell ripped a double to the notch. And this one soars out of here. Wow! It leaves the ballpark on the fly. Hello, Allegheny. Josh Bell with the homer. One of the loudest home runs you'll ever see.
That's what you call getting out.
Ward, I keep that clip on standby just for you, brother.
That's outstanding.
Sean, thanks for
another
calling,
one,
man.
too.
Sean, thanks for calling. Have a great week.
Peace out, dudes.
All right, good.
Take it easy, man. I had another one I wanted to share too. It's if you genuinely think that the government is being run by Super Hitler and a bunch of Nazis, but somehow still think but somehow you're still against the Second Amendment, you might not be very smart.
I know. All this stuff's going on. You got Fidel Castro down there in Austin, Texas, putting out donors lists, and some of them are homemakers and retired people. And in the same breath, you want to take my AK and my AR away from me? Have fun with that. Have fun with that.
As soon as he doxed all those, Trump supporters, then they got to deal with the Antifas and all the other, liberal lunatics.
I would say this to all you Democrats, and to you too, Arlen Toomey, and any other Republican that's for these red flag laws and gun confiscate. Why would you put that many police officers in danger? Imagine what you're doing. You're putting all these good people in danger to make them go to American citizens' house, and most of Americans are not giving them up. I'm telling you. Some will. Some will.
But some will, yeah. But I mean, and most of the people you find that would surrender their weapons are the same people that would probably have taken them and sold them back.
Right.
Right. Thinking they could get some.
We'll just forget about it. Yeah.
Gun owners.
All I do, I go deer hunting once in a while. That's the only time. That's not what we're talking about here.
No, and the thing is, the Second Amendment wasn't written about deer hunting.
Exactly.
When the founding fathers wrote the Second Amendment, they just got done liberating a country. So I don't think deer hunting was on their minds.
Not at all. Let's go to Eugene, Oregon, and welcome Marlene to the program because I know she's going to have something good.
Hi, that's our word.
Hello, you're on.
Okay, a couple quick things. I think I mentioned this last night. I won't dwell on it too much, but no.
Well, remember, last night was only 47, 50 people. So a lot of people are listening tonight that didn't hear that.
That's right. So I just mentioned that I am completely against the red flag laws, mainly because the criminals, they don't give a damn. So what? They're going to affect, as you mentioned, and it's true, those laws are there to affect us.
Yep.
Law-abiding people who, and some, even though I don't have a gun, I still don't like the idea of
change that.
laws because of life.
Mr. Marlene, man, you got to change that.
Yeah, I'm working on it, and can't talk about it here, but anyway. Then also, I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up, no, I'm not talking about Epstein. I've got enough of him.
Me too.
This was in our paper, I think either yesterday or this morning. But apparently, out here in Oregon, we've got our state Department of Revenue is warning people out here about prank calls or scam calls that have to do with the Social Security Administration.
Okay.
So basically, what they're doing is they're saying that these people call people, and they threaten taxpayers, and I swear they're going after probably people that are older or disabled and are on disability. Who knows? But that's just me. But anyway, they're threatening them with deactivating their Social Security number or their account due to suspicious activity. And as part of the scam, the caller will ask for information like your bank account and all this kind of stuff. And they even mentioned that these callers will even have the caller ID of the real Social Security number for the office, the 1-800 number. So they're basically saying, watch out for this. Don't fall into it. And if you do suspect that it is a scam, call the real Social Security Administration and speak to a real person, and obviously let them know what's going on. You could even call the Federal Trade Commission or the Office of Inspector General here in Oregon, or you can put something in online.
Just treat first of all, and I'll just tell you what I do, and then I will defer to Ward, because Ward is a professional IT type person. But with all phone calls that I get, if I don't recognize you, I don't even answer it. You know what I mean? And I figure and this has happened, because the VA has several different phone numbers, and sometimes I'll get calls and I'll cancel them out, and I'll get a voicemail. Hey, this is the VA. All right, so if it's legitimate, they're going to leave a voicemail. So don't even answer the damn thing if you don't know. And every time somebody calls you, and I know our audience is senior, let's just say that, a lot of them, a lot of you, because I am too. And
that's right.
When you do have somebody on the line that you know, when the call is over, enter them into your contacts. So the next time they call, it will say Marlene from Eugene. And I don't know why I can't do that with you on Uber Conference. You're the only one.
That is so weird.
It is
so weird.
So I gamble because there's two callers in Eugene, Oregon.
Me, and the other one you probably should know. I know.
I think I got it.
That offer that.
I think I have him.
Did you get John?
Yeah, I think his took. So I know when it's you.
He's in Springfield, which is across the river from me.
Right, but everybody else that calls in that has called before, I see their name because I change it.
Right.
After they call, all right, this is Ward and whatever. The other thing is, when it happens to you on email, look at the URL of the email address. Okay. And Ward, this is typical phishing strategy. You got to look. If they're calling you and they say they're at U.S. Bank, and the URL doesn't say usbank.com/whatever, it's not U.S. Bank, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
exactly.
The hint I always give everybody is if you get an email from somebody that says that they're America Bank or Bank of America, don't ever click the links in there to go there. If they say your account's overdrawn, blah, 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 click here to see what's going on. Never, ever, 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 ever click those links, because
I agree.
Assume every time that they're bad, and then just open up a web browser and go to it. You're on your own. Then that way you know that there's no kind of, because I've seen sites that they've mocked up that when you hit them, you think you're going to the Bank of America. It looks just like the Bank of America.
The graphics.
It's looking for your password or whatever.
Yep. Graphics are all the same, and it looks like it's U.S. Bank or Wells Fargo or whatever. But look at the email address. When it's when it's www.chicagomob.com, you got a problem. Let's bring Ken into the conversation. Ken from King George, join the group.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Ken.
Hey, you were talking. Hey, what's going on, Marlene? Hey, you were talking about USC Marion earlier. And,
I was. As we talked about on Sunday.
Yeah. Yep. So for those of you who didn't tune in yesterday, I was sent out there for probably close to a year and a half for a week at a time, almost every month, to basically teach inmates how to do my job. You got to call them inmates because they're not prisoners.
Convicts.
They're inmates. Yeah.
Convicts, exactly.
Animals.
So the non-violent ones,
all three of them,
they allow them to. Well, yeah. Some of these guys are in there for some pretty sick.
No, I know.
Stuff.
And financial crimes, anything federal. You know, the state handles most of the violent criminals. Just to put that out there.
Well, Epstein would have been kind of he would have been in the same clientele of prisoners they had out there, if that gives you any idea.
And part of Marion, not the whole thing. There's some real super badasses in Marion, believe me. I mean, real super badasses.
The thing is that
Well, part of the prison out there, they do a kind of a work program called Unicorn.
Right.
And it's not just at Marion.
It's at every federal facility. They build all the government office furniture, license plates, and they're even getting into small engine rebuilds and everything.
They do everything from they actually fabricate not the whole uniform, but police uniforms and everything.
Tents, army tents, everything. You're right.
But yeah, basically, any test facility, we came up with this concept of not blowing taxpayer money on a mil-spec piece of equipment to go sit in a test facility or a training facility where we can use the same equipment, put it in a commercial rack that's a hell of a lot cheaper. Well, they found out that we were doing all the work initially, but they found out that hey, we can contract this out to Marion, and they can do it even cheaper than paying me to do it. So I had to go out there and basically train these guys.
Isn't that great?
My job.
Isn't that great? Yeah, teach you how to get rid of your job. Wow. Let me just clarify. Let me clarify something real quick, Ken. The BOP, the Bureau of Prisons in the federal government, there are several levels of prisons, and I just want to say this because I don't want people to think that Marion Correctional Facility in the BOP is like a country club or is like for nonviolent offenders, because that's not the case.
Oh, no.
Marion,
exactly right.
Marion Federal Prison, before they built the Colorado Supermax, was the Supermax of prisons.
It replaced Alcatraz.
Exactly. Good.
Wow.
Well, Leavenworth. Alcatraz and then Leavenworth, and then when they made Marion, for instance, it was brand new when John Gotti was convicted, and he went to Marion. And there was several others that went to, and are still in Marion. There is a division. Marion is famous for its Supermax prison, but there are other divisions of Marion, and that's what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. This is the one just below. It's like 10 miles south of the actual town or city of Marion.
Right, but they're all in the same complex, but there's different parts of the complex.
Oh, yeah. See, but it was weird because, when Trump initially or President Trump initially got elected, when you walk into any government building, they usually have a board and shows basically the chain of command. You get the top dog. And
yes, sir.
Sure.
Well, they had a picture of Jeff Sessions up there for the longest time.
Oh, no.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it took them almost I don't know whether they did it for, just out of spite, whatever, but they refused to put a picture of President Trump on the board saying that, this guy's
I believe that.
dog guy.
Boy, I believe that. Because I got to tell you, every time, well, let me start with my daughter. I had to go to my daughter's school because my daughter is like me, and she's not real good with authority. So she was acting up a little bit, and I had to go up there. High school we're talking about. And I go in there. The first thing I had to do, and I was a public school student and private school student in the city of Pittsburgh, and I walked in there, and they had jail metal detectors that everybody had to go through. It was like an airport. The students had to empty their book bags and stuff, and I got wanded down, and I went into the counselor's office, and there was a picture of Barry Soetoro that was like 10 feet tall. I mean, this picture was like, what the
life size?
Is Creedence Clearwater Revival coming, or what the hell is this?
Oh, they got the fat head.
Unbelievable, man.
Oh, no.
I mean, nuts. But
And they want the Obama fat head.
then I go to the VA, which I went to today, and man, when I go in there and I see some of this human debris that's in, and I'm not knocking any veterans, but I got to tell you, man, the VA in Pittsburgh, it's like a magnet for people that are looking for free shit. I'm telling you, they got like they call it the Heroes Hall or something like that, and there's 50 people in there drinking free coffee and eating free donuts, and I mean it's like their job that they go in there. And when I go in and I see that picture of Donald J. Trump, I stand in front of it and I feel like saluting it every time I go in there, man. It's like,
wow.
Just
say.
say.
Heck, don't do that out here. I wish they did.
Wow. Yeah, it's but I know what you mean, man. I know, Ken. It's like, it's bureaucrats are very hard. It's very hard to turn an aircraft carrier in a U-turn. Very hard.
Well, it's just like the last couple times I went out to Marion. We'd normally fly into St. Louis because it was the closest, major airport.
Oh,
right?
you're a lucky guy.
Yeah. Well, the last time I went out there, I couldn't get to one, because I tried to stay at the Marriott all the time because they got a pretty decent reward program.
In St. Louis, you're talking about.
Yes. So they've got this real swanky, hotel right next to the airport. And, all right, stay there. Well, for some reason, I couldn't get this hotel because the people I work with, typical government, they wait till the last damn minute.
Sure.
Oh yeah, we're going to do that. They can go into DTS and schedule, hotel, flight, the whole shoot match. Then come out of their pocket,
Do you get to use
care.
DTS?
No, I don't. Because I'm a contractor.
Ladies and gentlemen, DTS
when
is.
I pay for the
Go ahead.
When I pay for the plane ticket, it comes out of my pocket. So
Right.
we better be damn sure we're going.
Right.
And that's usually one of the last things that I would try to do because, with the hotel, with the way Marriott's got their app, I can book a room in Bangladesh tonight for 3 months from now, and as long as I cancel it, 24 hours in advance, they don't charge me anything. So,
right.
Hotel was never a problem. It was always airfare. So, anyways, I couldn't get this one hotel that I was normally staying at, and I was like, okay, well, I could stay here at the residence.
The Residence Inn or the Renaissance? The Residence Inn has suites.
Residence, whatever, by Marriott.
They got suites.
Well, it turns out it was like a block away or 2 blocks away from where all that rioting was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, you know what? I was like, I'll pay the extra because I think at the time the place that I was normally staying at was like $5 more than what the per diem rate was.
Right.
Well, it turns out that it was October. They had bumped up the per diem rate, and nobody ever sent out an email about it or whatever. So I was like, man, I'll eat that extra $5.
I've done that. I've done that.
Yeah.
So anyway, get to the point.
But yeah, it was just the prison system has got some issues as well.
No doubt, and I got to say, yeah.
They need to be locked up.
Yeah.
You could
there's
look
no
at
doubt.
I could look at a bunch, and the sad thing was the amount of guys that were in there for these like sex crime, whatever. That's a broad term, right?
Right.
But some of these guys that I was talking to, or that are in there, they're prior military. There was a guy that was in there. He was a freaking captain in the Air Force. I'm like, how the hell does this happen? Because I was like, yeah, you might want to have a Unix guy. The guy come up to me in the afternoon and was like, yeah, I was here. I heard you were looking for a Unix guy. That's kind of me. And most of them are computer related. The guy that was kind of the foreman of the build team. I could look at this guy and I could tell that there's probably like terabytes of kitty porn on your computer. Just looking at the guy, And I'm
Hey,
like,
Ken, stand by for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, this individual is beyond reproach. The president of the Cold War Radio, VFW, that is Veterans of Foreign Wars. As I said before, beyond reproach. The president of Cold War Radio's Veterans of Foreign Wars chat room. Ladies and gentlemen, Rocky M. Good evening, Rocky. How you doing, brother?
I got a curveball coming at you.
Okay, throw it.
All right, so I was looking at your website, SteelCityResistance.com, and I saw on the tonight's show you had a little tagline for Hong Kong.
I did.
And I was hoping that you wanted to get into that a little more, because I found that really inspiring. Because
I do.
What I saw was they've got the protests going on in Hong Kong against the Chinese, and there are many of the protesters waving American flags and playing the American national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start that and let me go directly to that. And thank you, Rocky, because that's why I keep you around, man. You keep me right. We're over here bullshitting about things that are important, but if there was ever an opportunity for America to look at how many Democrat communist candidates are running for the primary to go up against President Donald J. Trump, they are all in the camp of the People's Liberation Army. Hong Kong is a small, it's actually on mainland China. But because of treaties and other things, they are ruled differently. And what they did recently, and I'm not sure of the exact machinations of how this happened, but they are, there is a agreement that is getting ready to expire, and they have a government that is going to accept the communist Chinese capability to extradite people from Hong Kong onto the Chinese mainland, which if you look at the map, they're kind of on the Chinese mainland, on the sea, for prosecutions. And these people are not having it. And they are uprising and protesting by the hundreds of thousands, if not more. If you search for it, you can see them in the streets. And tonight, a video was put online that showed the PLA responding, and they're responding with troop transports. Rocky, am I right?
Yes, sir.
And what's next? You know what's next. 7.62. 7.62 is next. These people are going to start getting murdered. Go ahead, Ward.
Yeah. Well, the Chinese have a problem.
Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, except it's Hong Kong, and it's not as much of a disconnect between China and Hong Kong as it is with China and Taiwan. But there's still, Hong Kong's more affable. Is that a right word? I guess they get into. Hong Kong's more China-like than Taiwan is. Does that make sense?
Here's the situation. Go ahead.
You're right on that, Ward. Well, it was in 1997 that it was actually the British turned over. Instead of Hong Kong being a British colony, they turned it over to the people, and it was like Hutch said, it was okay. Two different countries, one government, but they were really autonomous. But it is much like Taiwan. So
and right now the airport is closed, and the PLA, which is the People's Liberation Army of China, is moving in to the border. I mean, they're right there. And there's only, I think yesterday, or it was the day before yesterday, what they've done is the Chinese government and the Chinese army, the military and the police, have infiltrated the protesters so they can get close enough to hit them with tear gas. And when you follow this, there's only one next step, and that's going to be guns. And you're going to see that within the next couple of days. And the biggest point about this is that these American, quote-unquote, American Democrat presidential candidates and presidential or Democrat leaders in the federal government are going to be behind the Chinese government. This is what they want to do to you. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. These people are disarmed. Why do you think they're holding American flags? If there was a Second Amendment flag, that's the flag they'd be holding. Because they're out there in their hundreds of thousands. They could probably defeat the PLA if they were armed.
Yeah, but they ain't going to beat China.
I know they're not going to beat China, but China would back off.
No, but what everybody needs to do, all these Second Amendment protesters in this country, what they need to do is watch that and see what happens when you are unarmed and the government decides they want something. That's exactly what they're looking for here.
That's
they
why
want
Rocky
us unarmed.
called. That's why Rocky called.
You're absolutely right, Rocky. Absolutely right, man.
And little by little, whether they, red flag, they always come up with these fancy terms, red flag laws. Like, No, you're looking to disarm the population. So, period. Why don't you just come out and tell the damn truth what you're planning on doing?
You're absolutely right, Rocky. That's the end goal. No matter how you frame it, no matter how you look at it, that's the end goal. Is they don't want us armed, because if we are unarmed, they can dictate. Then that's where you get the dictatorships and the Pol Pots and et cetera. Because if we can't rise up to defend ourselves, bad stuff's going to happen.
Oh man,
Well, that was Ken just now, but this is Rocky. I think something we really need to look at is how much money is flying in and being given to the Biden campaign through his son and those Chinese links, and we definitely need to be paying attention to Mitch McConnell and his Chinese links.
And let's not forget Justin Amash. He's the same way. Rocky, do you think that and one of the things that really bothers me about this whole escalation, the whole idea that the people on the left in the United States government are firing these bombs out at our serious adversaries out there. It's amazing that the Democrats haven't pointed at China more, and steadily aimed at Russia. But any kind of conflict between us and China is a real deal situation. China is not Iraq. China is not Afghanistan. China is not even Russia. China is draft. China is we institute the draft right now. That's what China is.
Amen.
And even if we did, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they got a standing $1 billion in their army. So, any idea of we're going to fist fight them is out the window.
No, it's nuclear weapons immediately.
Yeah, it would have to be because there's no way that you can compete with them on a man-to-man basis. They got us beat at least 10-1.
You know what? We got like 4 guys on here. And Marlene just said, hell with these guys, man. She hung up. Sorry, Marlene, man. Come back in.
It was starting to smell like a locker room in here.
I guess, man. Oh, she's back. She's back.
I'm back. I was like, what happened? I'm listening to this all of a sudden. Oops.
No, we were laughing that, there was too many guys in the room and you had to go.
I know.
You smelled You smelled those socks, and it was just over.
I would have laughed my head off, believe me. But anyway, somebody in the chat, I think it was Drew, he said something about Tiananmen Square Part 2, and I thought, interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what this is, except it's going to be worse.
It is. It's a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, there's actually going to be gunfire this time.
That's true.
Tiananmen Square, was the Chinese showing their restraint. They're not going to show restraint this time.
I agree. No, they're not, because they know, like Sport even mentioned, that they know that the people have no guns.
Oh my God!
No
and they're waving American flags, man. How?
Yeah.
They have to act. They have to act.
Yeah,
there's not going to be.
They should.
Well, I don't know if they should, but they're gonna.
They will.
Well,
they don't have any weapons. They're I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that since they don't have any weapons, they're toast.
Oh, definitely.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's no question. 412-206-6208 if you want to get into this. It's degenerated into the party line, and that's not a bad thing.
Kidding.
It's not a bad thing, but if you want to call up and get in the conversation, go ahead and do it. Let me see if there's anything that I really need to talk about before we let this roll. No, not really. There's some things. Yes, I want to do one thing. I want to let me diffuse this just real quickly. I want to talk about, because we were talking about gun control and rat control and things like that. And we had a really good guest on about Baltimore, Kim I can't remember her last name, Gazelle or something. I don't remember, but a great guest. And I shouldn't even do that. I should look it up. That was very bad radio host operations right
Etiquette.
there. Yeah,
Etiquette.
right there. Etiquette. Okay, there you go. A great woman that, went to Baltimore, came on the show, was a great guest. But, Al Sharpton went there. And this story's a little bit old. I'm not really sure why it was on the Gateway Pundit, but I want you to listen to a little bit of a back and forth. Al Sharpton went to Baltimore. He's from New York, as you know. He's a worthless oxygen thief. Why anybody listens to this guy, and the liberal media, the corporate media, not the liberal media, the corporate media worships this asshole. I want you to listen.
Well,
Go ahead,
add to the fact, add to the fact that not only is he, the biggest race baiter in the country. I mean, the only one who's even close to him is Jesse Jackson, and Jesse Jackson isn't close to being the race baiter.
He's got dementia. He's got dementia. I mean, he's done. Jesse Jackson's over, man. He's going to die.
Well, Al's done too. I mean, we keep saying that, and he keeps coming back. He's like the phoenix that comes back from the ashes. Because he's all. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, the Tawana Brawley should have ended his career. Nobody should have ever spoke about him after Tawana Brawley.
Or the Hasidic Jews that are getting dogged right now. The Hasidic Jews in New York that he was against suffered 100 tire slashings in their neighborhood this weekend. They had to add additional police in this neighborhood because of the anti-Semitic Nazi people living in New York City. Let's listen to Big Al, and let's listen how the brothers are starting to get it, Ward. The brothers are figuring it out in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah, and
hold on. All right, let me play the clip.
Elijah Cummings is a respected and well-regarded member of Congress.
You go back to New York. Take that to New York. You ain't getting up in Baltimore. I ain't nothing but hey, you a phony.
These questions, and we were told that. We were trying to get our children no jobs. Our schools are failing us. Where are you when our schools are failing? You're just a hustler out of town and go back where you came from.
Why don't you go back where you came from?
I live here, and I was born here, sir.
Yeah, they don't like New York and Baltimore. They really don't. If you ever watch The Wire,
they don't.
you'll know that. But for him to come out there and pump up the Elijah Cummings, the people are like, "Oh no. Go back to New York."
But I think they know this.
Elijah Cummings, I do not like that dude.
Well, and the people that live there know what what a clown Cummings is. I mean, hell, I'd like to see somebody. They need to bring in like a forensics accountant into Baltimore and say, okay, look, last year we gave you $15.9 billion. That was the actual number. So where'd that money go?
Right.
I mean, really, if you break it down, with that much money, you could have given 2,000. What was it? 23 grand.
$20,000.
Yes, per resident. Yeah, I wanted to say it was between 20 or 23. It was in there.
And Rocky, listen to this, man. We look at Baltimore and we try to figure out how this happened. And something that is very, very unreported. Nancy Pelosi married a dude named Pelosi, right? But her name is Nancy D'Alessandro. And Nancy D'Alessandro's father was a mobbed up guy in Baltimore that was their mayor. And Nancy Pelosi's brother was a mobbed up mayor of Baltimore after Nancy Pelosi's mobbed up father was the mayor. Nancy Pelosi's family is who destroyed Baltimore. Go ahead.
Before I say something to get myself in trouble, Kimberly Klacik.
That's her name, Klacik. Thank you very much.
Is the guest who, she was awesome. and that was a great interview. So I'm gonna leave it at that, except for if you're, for any baseball fans out there, if you're watching Baltimore, I mean, you might as well be watching your hometown.
Yeah, the Pirates, right?
Things they stink out loud.
Oh, they're horrible, man. I wear a T-shirt. Pittsburgh Pirates rebuilding since 1992, and I get comments every day.
You got that right.
No, that's cute.
Our biggest opponents, by the way, in our baseball history, twice, man. I mean, these guys were good. But my point is, she destroyed the city. Her family, for decades, ran the place. And nobody knows that. She's from San Francisco now, so they look at San Francisco, but her family destroyed Baltimore, or helped to destroy Baltimore. Anyway.
Sad shit.
All right, guys. And let me go around the room and get final comments. Let's start with Ken. Ken King George, man. Your time to shine.
So you were mentioning earlier in the program about the KGB and all that stuff. Well, when I took a little cruise, I'm sure I may have mentioned this in one of my previous calls, but when we went on that Baltic cruise, it's been about 2 years now.
And tell the audience you're a Navy veteran.
Yes. Well, this was a WMAL cruise. With,
okay. All right. Baltimore radio. Okay. Good. Great station.
With Chris Plant. He comes on from 9 to noon just before Rush Limbaugh.
Right.
So that comment gets him out of a lot of jury duty.
Hey, dude, I had a DUI in 1990 that gets me out of them. It's awesome. But go ahead.
But anyway, okay. Anyways, get back on a serious note. We pulled into Riga, Latvia, right? And they've just recently, kicked the Russians out. They were overrun by the Nazis in World War II. And then the Russians came in. Oh yeah, we'll save you. Whatever. And they basically occupied the place. But during one of the bus tours of downtown, we ended up going by this one building called, they just called it the abandoned or empty building. And it used to be a former KGB headquarters building.
Right. Probably a lot of torture went on in there.
Well, according to our bus tour guide, she said when we're going to pull up to this stoplight, when we make the right-hand turn and come around this front of this building, she said you'll notice a gray mailbox in front of this building, right next to the main entrance. And if you had a beef with your neighbor, all you had to do was drop an anonymous letter.
Oh yeah.
Into this gray mailbox. KGB agents would come pick them up, and she said if you were lucky, or if they were lucky, they would be interrogated on the 4th floor. And if you're lucky now again, they'll leave the window open for you after they get done interrogating you.
Right, and this is red flag laws, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for saying that. I mean, this is the epitome of getting people to turn on their own citizens. That's what the red flag law will bring. You don't have to take my word for it. Like Ken said, this is nothing new, man. Nothing new.
What?
Be patriotic. Tell on your buddies. Hold on, I got to ask Ken one question.
Just so everybody knows, Riga is now they were in the process of restoring this statue that was in kind of basically the center of the square of the town to celebrate their at that time, I believe it was their 10th anniversary of,
in
basically
Latvia,
kicking the Russians out.
In Latvia, yeah. Right. So let me ask you a question, and boy, this is going to be a surprise to Ward. Should we go to CPAC this year?
Oh gosh. Well, I guess it depends on who's. I don't know. I've been out to the website to see who's going to be there as far as guest speakers and whatnot.
You know it's going to be
I
big.
mean,
It's in February. You know the president's going to be there.
oh yeah. Sean
do you-
Hannity's probably going to be there on
Do you
Friday
think?
night
Do you
doing
think?
the show.
Do you think Cold War Radio? After we've broken from the Wayne Dupree show, we're on our own. We got our own communications director who I know wants to go. Do you think that Cold War Radio should send a contingent?
Oh, I would love it. I mean, especially if you can get Mona to go.
Oh, she's going to go. If I don't go, Mona's going to go anyway, and we're going to send her. And we're going to send her.
Just to get her in the crowd. Yeah, I mean.
But should we set up a table on Radio Row of Cold War Radio at CPAC? That's my question. Because that's going to cost a couple $1,000.
I mean,
Mona's
GoFundMe
Mona's the best thing this show ever had, because Mona can roll out on a couple $100, and we did actually raise almost $1,000. I can't remember how much, but at least $1,000 to get her to go to the last event. But CPAC's the big event, and it's in February. And I just want to know, I'm because it's getting close to the time where I got to decide if I'm going to push this or not. Because I'm leaning toward leaning toward maybe we should. And I would, Ward, let me ask you, man.
At least send Mona. At the very least.
That's going to happen for sure. But I'm starting to get fired up and thinking I want to be on the ground my damn self with a big, because we're at a point right now where, and this has never happened before on the show. I know the only person that is on the staff right now that I don't know, in other words, that I haven't shaken their hand physically, and I know you can. You know what I mean? You're one of the guys I do know. But everybody that's on my staff I know right now, except for Jack. I don't know Jack. But I know Ward, and I know Sal, and I know Stacy, and I know Mona. I know everybody else. And some of them have been to my house. And I'm just wondering, because last year I didn't want to go. Because we were kind of rebuilding a little bit. But this year I'm thinking maybe I do want to go. Maybe I do want to take the crew down. Because I know now these guys, there's no, radio's funny, man. I mean, people do different things. But now I have people around me that I really know. And I'm thinking maybe we could make an impact. So I don't know how the audience would feel, because I'm not.
Or get thrown in jail.
No, we're not going to get thrown in jail. That's not going to happen. No, that ain't going to happen. But it's.
You can't conceal carry up there, I believe. Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Then you're looking to have no fun. There's not a chance of going to jail, man. I don't want to go.
No, Ward, Ward, would you come to D.C. with me, man?
In a second, dude.
All right, so that makes me feel so good.
See,
if Ward's coming, look, Ward is like this big mother. If Ward comes, I'm coming. Let's put it that way.
Okay, well, I want to see Ward on that damn bull.
Well, Ward, there's a bar right across from the
CPAC that has a mechanical bull. That's what Ken's talking about.
The Cadillac Ranch.
The Cadillac Ranch. But anyway, above and beyond all that, we're getting old here, Ken. You know what I mean? We got to be a little conservative in the way we run things. But I think maybe having a cold, because we've never done this before. The only time I have ever gone to CPAC, it has been with the Wayne Dupree show. And I think that our show is completely different than that show. And I'm not talking about his, I don't care about his show. I mean, I'm glad he's being successful, if he is. I don't even know if he is, but if he is, he's got 350,000 followers on Twitter, so he must be doing something right, but he didn't do it right with me, and and I have no problem with him. I'll say hi to him. I'll have him on the show. But I think that this year is the first year that I'm comfortable with maybe we'll go. So anyway, I just want, for everybody that's listening, I want you to think about it. Think, can you support us? Because Mona is the best thing we ever had. She goes out there and she does this stuff, and it doesn't cost us that much. But when you take me out there and Ward out there, it's going to cost. You know what I mean? I'm living in my own room, and I'm sure Ward's the same way. We're too old for that. We're not living in a barracks. We did that already. We're not doing that no more. You know what I mean? So if we can raise the money, let's start talking about it. Because I'll go. Oh yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Oh, it will be, guaranteed.
Now, okay, we're talking 6 months out. Can you do any? Can either you guys do any kind of like military discount at that Marriott up there?
Oh, we'll figure that part out. We'll figure that.
Into that.
I'm not. No, if I go, I'm going. Well, no. Okay, I got you. Yeah. What you're saying is get the discount on a. Yeah, that's possible. I want to switch over to Rocky. Rocky, what do you hold on, Ken, and Marlene next. Rocky and then Marlene. Should Cold War Radio go to CPAC? Rocky, go.
I'm still young. I take bail money wherever I travel.
You want to come with us? You want to come with us? You could be my security. You want to come with us?
Rocky's a new monkey.
Answer, man. Come on, Marine.
Hey,
what you gonna do?
I don't think I'd be able to pull my trailer the whole way.
No, but you can come in.
Cheap,
Rocky, fly into Richmond. I'll come down and pick you up, bro.
Shall we go? Shall we go or not?
I think. Oh no, I think it's a beautiful idea, and I say go for it. At least as far as getting the, at least if we can't all make it, then we can hook Mona up and she can always have.
That's a given.
Nice
that's a given. She's definitely going to go, but I'm not talking about that because when Mona goes, you got to understand these events. And Ken, back me up on this because you're the only one that's been there besides me. Mona can go, and Mona can walk up and down, Radio Row and all these things, and she can get these impromptu interviews.
Oh yeah,
but she doesn't have the presence on Radio Row like I could have.
Right.
If I have the presence on Radio Row, I can release Mona out into the crowd, and she can direct people back to my table. You know that, Ken.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How's that work?
And you get a lot of high-profile people there. I mean, I'm sure that, if you send her, we're going to get we're definitely getting a Joy Vila interview. That's a given, right?
But if we go, you're right. But if we go, we can get the President Trump interview. We can get the the big time interviews because we have a station there with a big ass sign that my patrons will buy that says Cold War Radio, and they'll come to us and Mona will bring them to us. But without that table, she can get great interviews, but not as great as if we have that table. Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's all I met you and your wife.
Right. And I mean, that's how you guys ended up getting the interview with Dog, you know.
Sean Spicer, we got a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so
I mean, you just catch
Marlene, what are your thoughts?
If the money's there, I would like to see you go because I know I saw you in What's His Face last time around, and that was okay. But I would rather see, in my mind, I'd rather see you and Ward go. And I don't know if it's possible, but maybe somebody's got a video camera. If nothing else, maybe during the interview, so we could kind of see the person's people.
I have all that. I have the video equipment. Oh yeah, I got. When I was working for RSBN, I spent $7,000 on video equipment.
Wow!
Out of my own pocket. I mean, I didn't have.
I believe you.
It was one of the reasons. It was one of the reasons that I got a little tired of Wayne. You know what I mean? I got all this stuff ready, and we were ready to go on this network. I mean, I think he's on it now, but it took so long. I went way in debt. I have the video equipment. I don't know. Yeah. All right.
I didn't know that you did.
Oh, I do.
Is,
I got.
Yeah, with the video, I think it'd be really cool because then I could see you guys doing the interviews.
And I'll give the equipment to Ward, and he'll know how to use it. You know what I mean?
Because I've seen this older picture, I think, of the two of you at CPAC, but I don't even know what work looks like now. I have maybe a general idea, but I don't know. But I think
I've never been to CPAC.
You never have?
If you've seen pictures with me and Hutch, it might have been some of the old
SCR
Steel
TV.
City Resistance we did. Yeah, when we were doing the video portion.
Maybe that's what it was. I'm not sure. All I know is that there was Hutch on one side, and he looked like he's got a suit on, or at least a jacket and like.
Oh no, I wear the appropriate clothing. No.
Oh, I know you do. And then the person next to you on the left-hand side had red hair, bright red hair.
Yeah, that's not me. I don't have any hair.
No. Did you go full bald?
I'm old
on
and
me?
bald, man.
All right.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. My hubby's bald, pretty much. I don't mind bald. No problem there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 412-206-6208. We're going to be on for a little bit longer. Thanks, everybody that's on the chat. I'm going to take you guys all out now. Thank you for calling in, and we will contemplate whether or not I'm going to leave Rocky in there. I'm going to leave Rocky in because you called late, man. So the other guys were in there for a while. And thank you for calling Ken and Marlene. But I'm, before last week, I was like, no way, I'm not going to CPAC. They're throwing these emails at me, but, I know people there. And I know if I respond, I got instant media credentials. And Mona has instant media credentials. And the value of that is that I think the most successful CPAC that we ever did, we had a woman named Teresa that the entire time, let me set this up. It's the Gaylord Hotel, and they open up an entire corridor on the second floor, and they call it Radio Row. And it's the corridor that all the rooms that are big enough to hold tons of people
are on. And all these radio and television stations are set up, both internet and regular media. Now, when you go into the room, that's where the Fox News and all those cameras and stuff are set up. But outside, it's us. And it's other, terrestrial radio, WBML, or whatever that is, that Ken was talking about out of Baltimore. And it's great. And if you have somebody that can canvas all this that's going on and steer them back to the Radio Row position that you have, which is just a 6 foot by 4 foot area with a table, and the event, CPAC, sets up the communications to get you on the internet with the microphones and everything. It's a good deal. And if you have somebody good, I mean, it's like Sebastian Gorka. You got everybody that's there will come to your table if you have a good communications director, and we do with Mona. We have a great communications director. So, Ward, I think you'd have a blast. And Rocky, man, you might as well come too. Rocky.
Well, I think definitely, well, without getting too inside baseball, I think you're going to have to, I love the idea. I think you're going to have to pimp it a little bit, though.
Oh, I will. And we have a little bit of time.
I think by announcing it now, I think you're getting ahead of the curve, and not ahead of the curve, but
no, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm
front, and
yeah.
I think it's definitely doable, even if I can't make it, which I probably can't, but I would so love to do. But I think, yeah, I'm behind you 100%.
All right, because I was wondering, because I really don't want to get into what I will have to get into if I get there. And what I mean by that is, and I won't let this stop me, believe me. I'm not a pussy.
Well, I think if Ward can be there in my place, he will speak for me. He conveys my thoughts about 99.9% of the time, so I wouldn't be worried about that.
That's pretty cool, Ward. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Rocky is one of the most esteemed members of our team, and let me take this opportunity to put a little reality out there. Right now, we have a certain number of patrons, and I had to be fair when I decided at some point in time that it was time to share the patronage that you people give to Cold War Radio. And I got screwed for a long time, man. I was a co-host, and let me tell you, there was a lot of money being made, and Hutch Bailey Jr. was getting a little bit of it, but not a whole lot. And I decided on my show that I wanted to share what the patrons give to Cold War Radio. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 co-hosts and 1 communications director, which equals 5 people. And I have a certain amount of Cold War Radio patrons.
And at some point in time, I decided I have to take care of these people because the people that are donating to the show are donating to the show. They're not just donating to me. So I started breaking it up, and I took all of our online or on the air personalities and decided I should give them each 10% of the total patronage, understanding that there were many fees and costs associated with the program, which is what the patronage was originally designed to cover. And I quickly got to half. So I'm giving away half. I'd like to give away more. For instance, to Rocky too, for what he does. But I'm already at half. And now that half just barely covers the cost. So if you want to take care of the show, please become a Cold War Radio patron. Let's see that go up a little bit so all of the people producing this program can get what they deserve. That's what I want to see. If you're listening to the program and you're not currently a Cold War Radio patron, please think about that. Please help my co-hosts and my VFW president, who I want to add on to it, but damn, if I go into 60-40, I can't afford Uber conference. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. I need some help. And also with CPAC. I mean, I think that we can probably do this, Rocky. But it has to be overwhelming or I'm not going to do it. Your thoughts?
I totally agree. There's, I know you do this because of the love of the show. Nobody does this for the money.
No, hell no. We're talking, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking less than $500 a month now. We're talking, I'm chopping up little small money. This is not real big money. This is less than $500.
I still donate to the show every month.
I know you do, brother. Thank you. And you should stop. You should stop doing that.
Nah. I want you to be here.
I know, man, but I'm saying, God damn, I love you. I love you, man. Word?
Got me stuck there.
Yes.
Chime in at any time. You're a co-host.
Well, no, I didn't know what you were looking for me to say.
Anything you want, brother.
You and Rocky had this love fest going on. I didn't want to interrupt it. That was a moment there.
It was. It's a military thing, man. He's a ground pounder, Anglico, it's wild.
Alrighty then. No, I mean, it sounds interesting. It sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. I'd really like to. I don't know how much some of those people would like to talk to me, but I mean, there's plenty of them I'd like to at least,
I'm totally impressed. I'm totally impressed that you said you're going to come, man. I mean, that there is, it's on now. We're going to CPAC now. You know what I mean? And I'm going to pay for it all. You know what I mean? Not me, but the audience is going to pay. And you watch. I'm going to tell you, Ward, you're going to be amazed at this audience. Because
I don't think so, because the stuff, the love they've shown me since I come back, it's just outstanding and phenomenal and great. I mean, I don't know any other words to use. And, it's each time you send me, like the reports of, how the show, how well the show's done, I'm just in awe, because I remember back when it was like, hey, Hutch, we got 25.
Yeah.
25, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like we got thousands, and it's like, whoa, thousands.
Rocky, you wouldn't believe. me and Ward are just two dudes from Pittsburgh, man. You know what I mean? And we're down in this liberal, I mean ultra liberal podcast Pittsburgh event, teaching people how to produce podcasts, and Ward is teaching them how to produce a video podcast. And you know, we catch each other out on a smoke break because we're both heathens, man. I mean, do you still smoke? He's not going to tell anybody. He's going to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well,
because his wife, if she hears he smokes, she's going to
that's why
kick
I
his
said that
ass.
real loud. I quit smoking. I no longer smoke.
Well, I still do, but whatever.
What?
But we're out on a smoke break, and it's like, you know, man, screw these liberals, man. We ought to have another show. And we came up with, let's do a show. You know, and it happened. But as we were going, I mean, we're in Pittsburgh, man. You know, so like 19 people were listening to the show.
It was huge. That was huge.
We were happy, man. We were.
I listened to the replay, and that was one of the first shows that you replayed, Hutch, was you guys were talking about that. And I just remember, it's stuck in my mind.
Well, look how we grew it, though. You know, we did that, and then, you know, Ward had life came in and slapped him in the face, and I kept going, and he kept going, and, you know, he came. It's just amazing the way
the
this
prodigal
happened.
son had returned.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, Ward. Think about it, man. We're still here. You know, you had your challenges, and I kept going, and I knew I loved you from the beginning, brother. I'm just telling you. I mean, there's no weird shit about that. I thought you and I, even when we crashed against each other, you know, with the rhythm when you're trying to do a talk show, we still had the best show around. You know,
Well, what I was going to say was, and we've noticed it coming since I've come back, you know, little by little, show by show, we're getting the hang of, okay, Hutch is giving me a beat. Now here's where I got to talk, you know, and it's coming around. It'll be a little bit, but once it actually really starts hitting, it's going to be ridiculous.
Goddamn right, man. And that's what it's all about. It's the rhythm, man. And we're starting to get our rhythm back. And I got to tell you, I'm very happy because right now I got Ward, and I got Sal, and I got Stacy, and who else? Jack. And the only guy that I've never met is Jack. I know Ward. I know Stacy. I've eaten dinner with Stacy. I know Sal. Sal's been over to my house. You know what I mean? It's like I had these other people in there, and I, you know, like I wasn't really sure, but I actually know these people now. It's a different dynamic. If we go down to CPAC, it's going to be, it's going to be epic, man. It's going to be good. And
I gotta say.
Go ahead.
I got to say, we love the unfiltered Jack, or not Jack. Now I'm mixing everybody up. We love the unfiltered Ward.
Damn right. That's right. Well, hey, you ain't seen nothing yet.
The original, when we originally did it, we had the explicit tag, and that became a joke for a long time,
right?
Because every show, one of us would earn the explicit tag for the show. And you know, when you want to become professional like we are now, you need to have you need to do that. And
it's funny though.
I don't know.
Even last night, you listened to the show last night. Ward went the hell off, and I was loving it, man. I'm listening to this thing, and I'm going, yeah. You know, he's going nuts.
And that's the way it should be.
Well, that was what was fun about it originally was, the fact that we just, said what we said, and that was one of our premises was we were going to, call a pig a pig. I mean, now in the earlier shows, you heard that sentence a lot.
Yes, sir.
Because it was the truth. It didn't matter because when Romney ran, we dealt with Romney, we dealt with McCain, we dealt with, whatever. I mean, and you called the pig a pig. I mean, if you're a rhino, we're going to call you a rhino. And we said that.
Absolutely.
So, and we've kind of stuck to it. So, and that's what's cool. I mean, the heart of the show has always stayed the same. We're going to, the basis was we're going to call a pig a pig. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, whatever. If you do something good, we're going to call you, say you did something good. If you, shit the bed, we're going to say, hey, he shit the bed.
And if you look at our original episodes of Steel City Resistance, Ward is 100% right, and he penned the moniker. He said it. If we're going to say it, and we have throughout the entire length of this show, and this show is definitely an offshoot of Steel City Resistance. And the thing that's going to be interesting, I don't know how it's going to work, man, but at some point, Ward's going to retire during our Steel City Resistance flashback. And then we're going to get Mr. J, who Ward recommended to me, and a very good recommendation up until the time that Donald Trump came on the scene. And I'm going to keep playing these episodes, but you're going to see a period where Mr. J from Orlando, Florida, hops off the Trump train. And I end up having...
Was he a never Trumper?
I ended up having to fire him. I mean, I fired him straight up. It was like, damn. When he started tweeting and things of, he didn't like Trump. He came along with him for a little bit, but then when it was important, he started tweeting and talking about, the part that got me, Ward, was, and Rocky, was when he started accusing the president of incest with his daughter. I have a daughter. And when that shit happened, that's when I had to fire him.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and that was at one point, the liberals were trying to float that, and
but I got I got a Republican on my own show. I got a Republican on my own show that was saying it. So that was the end.
That's what it was.
That was the end.
The original was a test balloon by the Democrats to see if they could do it, what would happen. And there was so much backlash so quick, they just pulled that whole narrative away immediately. Right. It was like, well, let's see what would happen. Oh, we're not going to do that.
Well, he was a National Review Online kind of guy, and he pushed that the way they did at NRO, and he hasn't been on the show since. And it was,
there you go.
It was hard for me because really, Ward, I was friendly with him as I am with you. And I was shocked that he did that. But when he did, I had to be the boss, man. I mean, didn't want to do it, but what are you going to do?
Well, the other thing, the way I would have done it was I would have switched it up and said, okay, we're going to do like a Hannity and Combs. All right? I'm going to come from you with facts, and you're going to be a liberal weenie, and I'm going to destroy you week after week.
And I could have done that. I could have done that, but my methodology was at the time when I thought about it, because it was, this kind of stuff is hard, man. I was on the show with this guy for like 2 years,
Love the guy, man. You know what I mean? Met the guy. I met Mr. J. Me and him ate together. We talked together. We were at CPAC together several times. I love the guy. I still do. You know, so it was hard for me to do that. But at the time, it was like, what are you going to do, man? What is Cold War Radio? And I told him in the firing message that my show, Cold War Radio, is about electing Donald Trump. Bye-bye. I said that, and I meant it. And I continued to march, and President Trump got elected, and that's just the way it is. And to this day, I really don't know what he's doing, and I don't really care. I like the guy still, but you got to do what you got to do, man. And this show is a political show, and it's about forwarding the message that our movement that has manifested itself with Donald Trump as the leader to try to fix this country, man. I don't care about Donald Trump. I don't know him. You know what I mean? But he is doing the right thing as far as I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have no skin in the game as far as for him personally.
Exactly.
But, excuse me. But all the policies and whatnot that he's put in place ever since being elected, my 401ks never looked better. You know, more people are at work. I mean, basically, he's done everything he said he was going to do. So I don't see where do you poke him at? You know,
I agree 100%, man. The guy is doing,
and that's what's going to happen. And that's what's going to happen when it comes to the actual general election. And any one of those Democrats got to get on stage with this guy and say, okay, come at my record. How do you attack him?
Right. Rocky, I got you hanging.
You're so mean.
We got Rocky hanging out there in the Never Ever lands. So, Rocky, I want to bring you in one more time. And what do you think about what's going on right now? I mean, you've heard the attacks on the president, and you've heard the Democrats flailing. Is there anybody on the Democrat side that can challenge President Trump as far as 2020? And it's very early now. You got to remember that. But anyway, your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts on that are they've already shown their cards, and the one person who I think could have really given Trump a run for his money was Tulsi Gabbard. But
she just reported for duty in Indonesia.
She shot herself in the foot months ago when she tweeted that Trump was Putin's bitch.
Yeah, how stupid was that? I personally, I don't think.
I think Kamala Harris will be the front runner.
Do you?
I don't think she will.
I don't think the front runner has been identified yet, in my opinion.
Well, they keep saying it's Biden, and Biden ain't got a chance.
No, Biden.
Really, I mean,
the Democrats.
Obama light.
The Democrats are going to Epstein Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
Be prepared. Yeah. Be prepared for the. Be prepared for the headline. Be prepared for the headline that Joe Biden is dead. Be prepared for that headline.
Hey, no. I think they're going to pull out all the stops like they did in 2008 when in the primaries Hillary Clinton won the popular vote against Barack Obama.
What a lie!
But hey, the superdelegates there in the Democrat Party, which shouldn't they be Democratic?
Right.
She won the popular vote, but they gave it to Obama.
Michelle Obama
Hillary Clinton, the people that you see, the people you see on the Democrat list, none of them are going to be running against President Clinton. It's going to be somebody else.
You mean Trump?
Trump, yes, Trump, right, exactly.
I still think they're going to pull out. I think they're going to pull all the stops and try to do a repeat of 2008 because Kamala Harris checks all the boxes.
Horizontal. Kamala.
She's female.
Yeah. She's a freaking. She's a prostitute.
Race. She's everything that they
want.
Her
family was.
I hope she's.
Her family were slave owners.
Yeah,
she has so many problems with that.
The Jamaican dope smoker. I can't wait, man.
Don't forget. This is a good point right here. Is that they're setting it up for a contested election?
Yeah. No.
So guess what happens? Guess what happens in the second round of the primaries? The superdelegates get their votes.
Sure.
So
it's going to be fun.
I'm still saying that Kamala Harris is going to be there.
I disagree. I think it's going to be Michelle Obama.
The word would be sacrifice.
I say Michelle Obama. That's who I think is going to be in there. I swear to God, I think I think these stupid white Democrats are they're so dumb that they think America wants Big Mike, and I think that the president will
would destroy him.
Him. Will destroy him. Big Mike.
But if there was a thing on Twitter today that it was Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, and it was supposed to look like Elizabeth Warren just walks up on her and she turns around and it's this real gracious like spin. Oh, I didn't see you there. And it was the biggest bunch of crap ever. And I'm like, come on, man, you can't be serious. There's people that actually believe this. And it was the worst acting job I've ever seen.
It's horrible.
And it's like, I was waiting for Warren to say, hey, let's go get a beer.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, thanks for sticking around. My people got to go to sleep, man. We got to work tomorrow. This is a working man's show. Thanks to everybody that signed in and listened to the program. Rocky, thanks to you, man. How can people get in touch with you?
Hit me up in the Spreaker chat, Spreaker.com. Bailey Jr.
There it is. Ward, how can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Wardy22.
I want to thank everybody for listening. I know we went way long. I want to definitely thank Ward and Rocky and Marlene and Ken and everybody else that called in. What a great show. Am I going to have to expand this to a 3-hour show? This is the second time that we've done this.
Then we're going to have to start earlier because I'm too late.
I know. That's why I looked at your, message and we got to get out of here. You know what? We'll think about that. Think about CPAC. You want us to go to CPAC? You got to come up out of your wallet, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to need some money. Hutch doesn't go anywhere without his own room, man. I'm just too old for that shit. Thanks for listening. What a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, Cold War Radio, thanks for letting us into your life for 3 hours. Again, my goodness. God bless. Please support RSBN Bandcamp.com.